2021 to order. This meeting is convened by electronic means, and as such, council members may participate in person or by electronic means. For council members participating by electronic means, please ensure your video is turned on and let the clerk know if you leave the meeting for the purposes of confirming quorum. If council members attending by electronic means lose connection during any portion of the meeting, we will recess the meeting until the connection is restored. If council members lose connection during the voting process, staff will get you back online quickly while we suspend the voting process. The contact information has been circulated to you. Members of the public can view the proceedings via the live stream and YouTube link, which will be tweeted out on @Van City Clerk. And may I start by acknowledging that we are on the traditional and unceded homelands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people. Thank them for having cared for this land and look forward to working with them in partnership as we continue to build this great city together. I also want to take a moment to recognize the immense contributions of City of Vancouver staff who work hard every single day to help make our city an incredible place to live, work, and play. City Clerk, may we have the roll call, please?
Mayor Stewart's on a leave of absence for civic business. Deputy Mayor Carr is in the chair. Councillor DeGenova.
Present.
Councillor Fry's absent. Councillor Swanson.
Here.
Councillor Hardwick.
Present.
Councillor Wiebe.
Present.
Councillor Boyle.
Present.
Councillor Dominato.
Present.
Councillor Blythe on a leave of absence for civic business. Councillor Kirby-Young on a leave of absence for civic business. You have quorum, Deputy Mayor Carr.
Thank you. And with a very different voice for Councillor DeGenova, I note. A reminder tonight that council's role is a public hearing, as though to be a quasi-judicial body, which means council is to only consider the merits of the rezoning application or heritage designation. After hearing from speakers, council may 1, approve the application in principle, or 2, refuse the application, or 3, refer the application to staff for further consideration. Council, as a reminder, we approved items 1, 2, and 3 of this public hearing on November 18th, and subsequently heard opening and closing comments from both staff and the applicant, heard from speakers, and closed the speakers list and receipt of public comments, and began a second round of questions to staff on item 4, which we will continue tonight. Before we continue, council members who are not present for the first portion of this item must confirm that they have viewed the proceedings if they wish to vote on this item. Councillor Hardwick was absent at the public hearing on November 18th. Councillor Hardwick, have you reviewed the proceeding item and will you be voting?
I have and I will.
Thank you. So we are proceeding with item 4, rezoning 5812, 5844 Canby Street. But before we continue, I'd also like to highlight for council that earlier today we received a yellow memorandum dated November 25th, 2021 from the General Manager of Arts, Culture and Community Services entitled Youth Engagement for Proposed Youth Center at 5812 Canby Street. And when the time comes, we will need to move the recommendation for this item together with the yellow memo. On November 18th, we ended the meeting with Councillor Kirby-Young asking a second round of questions to staff. However, as Councillor Kirby-Young is on a leave of absence tonight, we will continue with questions to staff from Councillor DeGenova, who was next on the queue for up to 5 minutes. Councillor DeGenova, I'm advancing you now. Go ahead, up to 5 minutes.
Thanks very much. And I do appreciate the yellow memo from staff that was circulated. I'm wondering if that's, first of all, has that been posted and when that was posted? Just for the public record? When that was posted publicly on the city's website.
Yes. Do we have Paul Mulcree, City Manager, or other senior staff or planning staff on the line that could answer that question?
Thank you, Councillor Carr. This is Scott Erdman from planning. I can confirm that the yellow memo was posted online approximately around 5 p.m. This evening.
Thank you very much. My next question is specific to the child care and that amenity and some of the other questions asked by other council members and speaker about having childcare not on the ground level. So can staff share whether or not this has been processed in the past? I know Creekside Community Center, a number of other child cares may not have child care on the main level, but they do have outdoor space on the level that they're on. Is that correct? Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Thank you for the question, Councillor DeGenova. I'm going to refer to my colleagues in ACCS to respond to your question.
Hello, this is Ada Chen Russell. Just to answer that question, we do have a lot of our recent childcares have been on a podium level where there is actually space where it's adjacent to the indoor space, and that's the guidelines asking for indoor and outdoor adjacent spaces for the programs.
Thank you. And is podium space in some ways, understanding that usually second level or a space on the podium of the building is often the space that we'll see leased to or reserved for nonprofit offices or other types of use. Does this also add another level of security to a childcare? Is that something that's been taken into consideration by staff?
Hi, yes, this is Ada again. We do have some at grade childcare, so I don't think security is an issue, but most of the opportunities with the limited amount of ground level opportunities, we've been having it above the street level.
Thank you. In a mixed use building, perhaps though, could this be seen as a security feature, and is that something staff has considered? I understand that some childcare obviously is at ground, often it's favorable, but I'm just wondering if that's considered in a mixed use building and environment, sometimes a little more secure.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of the security measures above ground. Yeah.
Also, on the youth center side, I'm wondering, is there currently a youth center in this area? It had been alluded to that there was a community center that is going to be renewed. I remember it from my time at Park Board, but I'm just wondering. I mean, not all community centers are youth center focused. So I'm wondering, can we expect that Marpole will be youth center focused, or is there a need for a youth center or resources for youth in this community?
Hi, yes, this is Ada again. So yes, there is no current community center at Oak Ridge, but it is part of the rezoning that was approved to have a civic center at Oak Ridge. So within that civic center, there is space for youth there as well as for seniors. The programs offered at the community centers offer recreational, culture, and social activities. So not for like a non-profit
Yeah.
social service. Yeah.
So we could see possibly, like, for instance, I suppose an example I'm thinking of is Covenant House in Vancouver. I'm not saying that this would be the same, but we'd see a nonprofit that perhaps had different goals and served different clientele than a community center could expect. Is that correct?
Yes, I think there's because there's so many diverse needs for youth in the city. It's good to have different and complementary programs and services. And yes, nonprofits would have a different type of mandate and service for youth.
Okay, thanks very much. That's all of my questions. And I'd be happy to move the recommendations if I'm the only person on the queue with the yellow memo.
You are indeed. Could you please move them with the
I
yellow
just said
memo?
with the yellow memo.
Okay, okay, that's great. I'm looking for a seconder then.
Second, Councillor Dominato.
Great. Okay, just a second. I'm going to move everyone to the main queue to debate this. And Councillor DeGenova, go ahead.
Thanks so
To the
much.
motion.
I just wanted to ask a point of information using my time, if I may,
You may go
for
ahead.
you to staff, and that is that there was some concern that was heard about consultation and consultation specifically with nonprofits that specialize in serving youth. Um, what type of consultation can we see before staff lands on an RFP process for this space to make sure that, you know, the nonprofit space that's being reserved for youth will be maximized to help the most youth in need.
Great. Thank you, staff. To answer Councillor DeGenova's point of information, who would like to do that?
Hello, Council. It's Diana, Hereford Senior Planner in Social Policy and Projects, and thank you so much for this question. It's something that we're really keen to do more consistently and more in depth as we engage with nonprofit partners to ensure that we're also really broadening and deepening our engagement from an equity perspective when we're talking to youth. And so thank you for that question. I think what we'll probably start to do is to look at ways that we can do that throughout the process. And as part of that kind of determining what type of services will be here, and in terms of looking at youth in the area, both kind of new youth coming to the area and existing youth in the area. So we'll look at that across the development process that you received today for information and ways that we can do that more consistently.
Thanks very much.
Okay, that's good, Councillor DeGenova.
That's good for the questions. I will say
Great.
that this is not an easy decision to make, considering the correspondence council's received and what we'd heard from speakers. I do think that it is important, though, that we remember, and in hearing comments that youth of certain socioeconomic means don't need guidance and don't need a center and don't need counseling. I don't believe that that's true. Or a place to gather. I believe that we should take every opportunity we can to invest in future generations, and I think that this is one way to do that. I am satisfied with the information staff have provided since we last met in the yellow memo, but also in the questions that I asked this evening, that there will be thoughtfulness in this process, and that there will be stakeholders at the table who specialize in these services. And I hope, my hope is that the concerns will instead turn into something that really could help youth in a neighborhood where we're hearing that youth are already underserved. We could always use more childcare. In Vancouver, I'd like to see it eventually be extended hours or 24-hour childcare. If we have operators willing to do that, why would we lock the doors and turn off the lights when there are parents who are working and who are relying on unaffordable childcare that is not safe and licensed? So I think that it's very. Oh wait, I think someone's not on mute, Chair.
Yes, I'm reminding council to please keep your mics muted until you speak. Thank you. Go ahead.
What I will say is, would I have liked to see deeper affordability here? Yes, I would. That being said, are there thoughtful amenities that will complement the neighborhood and the community? Yes, there are. And I don't think that we can say that there is an instance where youth don't need that support. We should be doing all that we can to support future generations in our city. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor DeGenova. Councillor Dominato to the motion.
Thanks, Chair. I circulated an amendment.
Okay, I'm going to move us to the amendment
Thank you.
queue, and Councillor Dominato, I will put you on that queue. Go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. And I simply circulated an amendment which I understand from engaging with staff would be added at the end of recommendation A. And it is
Councillor
to,
DeGenova.
excuse me?
I
Pardon
just
me.
seconded the amendment.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
And it would simply be to ensure that there's consultation with youth as part of the process of the development of a youth space. And my reasoning behind this is, while I recognize that we've engaged already with youth serving agencies, we really need to give voice to youth. They are often the ones that don't have a voice in these conversations, particularly around what are their needs. And this stems from decades of working within and connected to the education sector. And so I really think it's important that be acknowledged and recognized as a part of this work to ensure that whatever's developed is really going to meet the needs of all youth, and that they've had some input into what that looks like. So that's the amendment.
Great. Thank you. And just for staff, for council's council's edification on this, in case you didn't have time to read the yellow memo. In the yellow memo, it does state at the bottom of the first page, continuing onto the second page. So I don't need to ask staff for verification that this is okay. It says council may add direction to approve the proposal. To approve the proposal and instruct staff to consult with youth and nonprofits at various stages of the project in a council motion. So I believe that that does follow the language that was provided to us in that yellow memo. Great. And so,
Chair?
sorry, Councilor DeGenova, do you have a point of something?
No,
Oh,
I'm
you,
on the
sorry,
queue to
sorry,
speak. I
advancing.
didn't
You're on
want
the
you to
queue.
call the vote. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks. Go ahead, Councilor DeGenova, to
Thanks.
the amendment.
I'll be brief, but I wanted to say that I appreciate this, and I did see the opportunity for this in the yellow memo. I again was satisfied with what we heard from staff, but I think that this amendment is not only thoughtful, but will hopefully help to alleviate any fear or concern that this will be so far down the road before youth are consulted. If this is for youth, it should be something that is built with youth. In mind, and I do think that it's important that we don't just look at community centers. I think community centers are wonderful, but each of our community centers throughout the city of Vancouver, and thinking about Marpole right now being one of the closest to this area, but these community centers, each of them are unique, and each of them are known for different things. I think about the Killarney Senior Center, that has culminated out of the Killarney Community Center, which serves many different groups of people, but for many years served seniors. Very much was known for that. Um, we're not sure what Oak Ridge will be, what it will look like. It may have space for youth, but that doesn't mean that youth specifically will feel comfortable there. And especially considering nonprofits do offer resources that specialize in, there's many different facets that I can think of in helping youth to move forward. I think that this fits within so many of our city strategies, the healthy city strategy, but also looking at things like the 4 pillars drug strategy as well, and looking at prevention and working with youth. So very thankful to Councillor Dominato for bringing this forward, and I will support it.
Okay. So that's great. I don't see anyone else on the list. I'm just going to clarify. I've had a note from the clerk, and so I'm going to clarify with staff. I did read out the part of the yellow memo which does say that council may add direction in approving in the motion itself, instructions to staff to consult. Although it's in the yellow memo, staff, are you fine with the addition of this amendment? Yeah, just that straight up question.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. This is Teresa O'Donnell, General Manager, and yes, we are fine with the amendment. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Good. I don't see anyone else on the queue, so I think we are good to go with the vote. Clerk, if you could move that for us.
Vote assist in favor.
And that does pass unanimously. Great. So I think that that's it. We now need just a motion to adjourn.
Point of parliamentary
vote on the
procedure,
motion.
Chair. I think we were just voting on the amendment, the added
Oh, I'm
recommendation.
sorry.
So I
That was
think we
just
still
the
have.
amendment. I'm so sorry. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
We're not amended yet. We're not sorry. We're not at the motion to amend. All right, back to the main queue. We're now dealing with the motion as amended. Councillor Dominato, you're
I
on the
have nothing
queue.
further. Thanks.
Okay. And no one else is on the list. So clerk, could we now be moved to a vote on the amended motion.
I was on the list, but got knocked off somehow.
I did not see your name on the list. Clerk, was Councillor Swanson on that list? I am so sorry, but I did not see it. The clerk has not started the vote, so I'm going to just advance you, Councillor Swanson.
I just wanted to say I can't vote for this. I'm really upset by the lack of affordability around the Oak Ridge Center and in the Canby corridor. And this is just 268 more housing units for people at the upper end of the income spectrum. And I think we have to start putting affordability for housing and everything. So that's it.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Swanson. And that is it, unless anyone else joins the queue at this moment, and I don't see that. So, Clerk.
Adrian, can you put me on the queue?
Absolutely. Just 1 second, and I will do that. Go ahead, Councillor Weeb.
Yeah, I just want to speak to the youth center. I think it's something that's been talked about a lot. I think it's important that we create these spaces, and I know in past master planning that we've done at the city, youth centers are always the first to go or first to get eliminated. And so I really appreciate staff making sure that we deliver on the amenities that are part of the community amenity plan that the public put together. So I will be supportive of this. I'm excited that we can deliver a space for youth as we build this city and as we build this neighborhood. So I will be supporting this project.
Thank you, Councillor Weeb. And I now, if there's no one else joining the list, and I will wait a moment just to make sure. Clerk, I believe you can now move us to a vote on the amended motion.
Chair?
Yes.
I tried to vote, but then my panel disappeared. So I've just voted again, but I'd like to make sure it's going to come up.
I'll need a vote assist in favor, please.
I have. Okay, so thank you for that. And Councillor Swanson and Councillor Hardwick, I see you right now. It's showing you're not. Well, actually, Councillor Swanson, you voted. Okay, you've both voted now. Okay, that does pass with Councillors Swanson and Hardwick in opposition. All right, then that I do believe takes us to the end of our agenda. I just now need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you, Councillor Hardwick. A second. I think I heard Councillor Weeb first. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. That is passed unanimously. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you so much, Council. Thank you so much, clerks and staff. And have a good evening, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks.
Good night.
Thanks to staff for coming back again too.
What do we do now?
Don't ask that. Just go enjoy your evening.